Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, and based on where you all are. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So please proceed.
ladies and gentlemen, um, you know, you heard probably the saying "frickin' frat," uh, Tom and Harry. Uh, you know, the chicken and the egg. Well, I'm delighted to put on the chat the bio of, because it's too long to talk about, of by Blyden. By Blyden is a true um, grass-rooted native of from his roots, Africa, and everything about him um, illuminates the future, the opportunities, and the possibilities. He himself, as a nuclear engineer, and has built nuclear plants and speaks 5 languages and has done business in Russia, Ukraine, and so many other places, comes from a worldview. He's a world reader. And as you get to know him more, you'll know what that means. But we're so happy to have, once again, our dear colleague and friend, almost family, I would have to say, Abai Blyden. He's going to come to you and talk about sustainability in housing. He's going to come to you and talk about his whatever he wants to talk about, because his partner, the architect, Joe Addo, unfortunately took ill. And so Vi Blyden's going to have to do center stage and share with you his innovation, his company that he's working with Centric, and how the technology is being applied throughout Africa. And I'm excited to introduce you to my friend, Bai Blyden.
Well, thank
Bai,
you. Thank,
take it
thank you.
away.
Thank you. Thank you, Keith. I'm always wary about you PR types, but anyway, thank you. Yes, gosh, I almost didn't make this. I wasn't feeling, I've been in bed since yesterday and almost didn't make this. So I just called in, and next thing you know, I'm up to speak. But yes, indeed. My main areas of focus, well, got a few, but the main ones, let's say that he spoke of the housing. I can speak to that. Some friends of mine for the last, well, it's going on 10 to 15 years now, came up with building material that's based off of bamboo and wild grasses, and they achieved it where it is now. It has the tensile strength of aluminum and steel. And 3 years ago in Malaysia, we tested the wall panels with it, and we passed a 2-hour fire rating, which means same as that of an 8-inch brick wall. So we're very excited about it as being a future building material. A lot of people talk about bamboo, but as soon as you say bamboo, their minds go to, tiki huts on the beach and, other type of structures. No, 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 no. The buildings that we built, just demonstration for now. We're in the middle of negotiating now for much larger scale projects, are indistinguishable from any other building that that's just not round, and up to 6 stores. So we have this system, and that comes together. Apart from the actual material of itself, we also have a 10-part building system, like a Lego kit, if you will, that can come together in a very short period of time. For example, a 4-bedroom house can come together in 2 weeks, with very little or skilled labor. So there is that project, and a number of countries are at the table, around about 5 right now, that are interested in taking this thing forward. And I'm looking forward for the same here in the United States now that housing has become a big issue. All right, so much for that. As Keith says, my background is actually in power and energy. It's been for most of my career, and we have some new technologies that we're introducing into that space. One of which I'm working with on a actually a specific application coming up with the federal government. A federal government project is with Lonnie Johnson, who I think everybody knows who he is, and so we're looking to do that, and that should create some press and stuff when it's done. And let's see, what else? Now, on my own personal project, outside of these physical collaborative ones, I have been working for a number of years on something I call the knowledge engine that is focused around energy and AI, but in an educational context. In other words, um, there is no other industry that has as rich data as the focus on energy and energy solutions. And I'm saying, well, now that we're in the age of AI, just the planning and thinking about what you're trying to solve. And let's take Africa, for example, where well, I don't like to use the term that's virgin, but I'm saying it in a particular context. While we're worrying about setting up the solutions to solve water issues in the villages, this, that, and the other, we can now create AI models of what you desire, what's going on around the world, and using it in a uh, what's the word, relative lessons learned context, and build these AI models to train personnel, and in doing so, you fast track our capability, which is really what is missing in the world right now. Africa represents the number one geopolitical focal point in the world right now, and yet the people aren't ready in a coordinated manner to take advantage of that. And it's that focus that I'm working on. I'm in touch with the Association of African Universities for a couple of years now, trying to work with them to bring a focus to that, and then linking them with major institutions in the United States, in particular, like the Electric Power Research Institute is one, institutions like MIT, and on and on. And in so doing, I'm a big believer that Africa is going to rise out of innovation. That's all we have left, to innovate ourselves out of the situation we're in. And this is that time. So, I mean, that's a brief summary of what I do. All right. Thank you. Keith?
Yes, so tell us about the factory, the plant, where it's located, your partner, and more details from that perspective, so we can get a better visualization of the
Okay.
centric.
All right. Well, during COVID, we had a Japanese investor that had put up some monies for us to get going with this technology. He had invested in Cambodia, near where the Silk Road goes through a very high end area. And so we ended up building this small factory just to produce the nine models, which still are there. And unfortunately, the poor fellow died as a result of COVID.
Mm.
So all of that operation was like shut down. But what we have now is we have, like I said, 4 or 5 countries that are speaking to us at the table, and factories will be built to address those things once our contracts and all of that due diligence is complete. The factories are no more complicated than that of a plywood manufacturing factory. Okay, there's three parts to operation: the agricultural component, the manufacturing of the structural boards that go with the construction of the buildings, and then The third part of our system is where these Lego sets, as I described them, the wall panelings and this and that are cut up and put together like the way IKEA. You go to an IKEA store and you buy those. But of course, this is a little bit more significant because we're talking about pieces that build houses, so or other types of buildings, and so that's what it is. The closest one, if you will, that we're excited about is what's we have unfolding or developing with South Africa, Botswana, Uganda, and Kenya, and they're all running in parallel. Trust me, it's so it's a very interesting phase that we're in right now. But that's what we're talking about.
Do you happen to have, as Tubayan has, any slide or PowerPoint that shows visualization
I
of
do
the
not. I do not. But people can go to centricltd.com. That is CENTRICLTD.com, and you can
Melvin?
see
Can
our
you put
web.
that in the chat, please?
And you can see that's our website. And then on YouTube, you can go to Centric Bamboo, and you'll see a little documentary that we did, Keith. In fact, when we were up in Utah, those guys that helped us put it together, you can see that video. That will give you an idea visually, a clear visual of the potential and what the possibility is.
Okay, so Melvin, maybe at some point we can begin to show that video if we capture it. If you get it to us, Melvin, that might be easy. I mean, that'd be easier.
If
Yeah,
I get
so
what?
the
The
video that you
video?
just mentioned. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
that's
send
on
us.
YouTube. Centric Ltd. Centric Bamboo.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. I'll access it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Centric Bamboo.
Okay. Um, so, ladies and gentlemen, what questions do you have for Bai? Where do you see application opportunity? And how, Bai, have you penetrated South Africa? How could Timothy and also the International Trade Administration assist in further facilitating something in the South Africa and SADC region for
Uh,
for
well,
Centric?
well, I'm glad Tim is on the line because I've been trying to reach him for a while. For some reason, he doesn't seem to get my calls or something. But anyway, yes, always. We had started talking about Eswatini and so forth, and then that sort of went cold for a while, not as
Okay.
a result of us, but as a result of the client who was dealing with Eswatini. And that is not to say that it will not reemerge, but in the meantime, I've been talking to other groups there in South Africa, and like I said, Botswana and Kenya, of course. We were very excited about Kenya in particular because we're working with a very um, strong, stable, good brother named Julius Mwale, who's built a $2 billion city to transform his country in Kenya. And this is an entrepreneur who came up with the biometrics technology and made it real well. And now he wants to, beyond giving back, he wants to help stimulate economies. And he's actually negotiated to build 18 other cities like that throughout Africa.
Mhm.
So we're in bed with him. I went to see him this summer. I visited him there in Kenya and so forth. So yes, like the runway is is quite interesting. And as I've always told you, Keith, this MBDA program can be a real catalyst to help us move this thing, especially with this Africa-America relationship. This could be a great channel for that because along with housing and building and everything go all the other ancillaries: energy, water, renewable energy specifically, and so forth. So it's a big scope, but it's a doable scope.
Got
Hey,
it.
This is Melvin. Could you express to the individuals about AI and reduce the fear and pretty much enhance the capabilities that will take businesses to the next level, not only the national level, but the international level, to where we can use these tools and advance our business by years. And a lot of people are afraid of it. Could you just let people know it's nothing to fear, but it's something you need to embrace and take advantage of?
Okay. The analogy I like to use, because it's a very true analogy. It's like when people talk about nuclear, how scary it is, and so forth, and for all good reasons. They're that powerful, and pay attention to what's actually happening in the news in the last 2 weeks, where all these high tech companies like Microsoft, Amazon, and all of them are buying up these old nuclear plants. Have you all been following that or heard that going on?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
reason, because nuclear's the amount of energy in a nuclear system on a very small footprint, yields so much energy. For example, a coal-fired plant, a nuclear pellet the size of less than half of your finger is like the equivalent of dozens of cars of coal. You know what I mean? And yet, on a 5 acre piece of land, you can have a 1,000 megawatt nuclear plant, for example. I'm giving you the maximum sizes that is enough to power 1 million homes. No railroad tracks, no train things. You see what I'm saying? No coal mining, no, and on and on and on. So those are the economies of scale there. Likewise, because of its the dangers associated with if you don't handle it carefully, and we know what nuclear can do. You all have heard of Fukushima. You've known of what happened in the war. Yet still, it's infinitesimal energy, if you will. And AI is like that, where the dangerous side are those things that we see where somebody can simulate a system or show up somebody's characteristics, and you think you're looking at the real person, or that the real person. Those are the dangerous sides of AI. But the good side is that now a little kid, let's take Africa, for example. In fact, just yesterday I was looking at a new Kindle product that has just been introduced, and it's got AI capability in it. You can now give a child starting out that capability where his mind can go to whatever his natural instinct is, and he has all the capability to support him with just that little device, for example. Okay, an AI assistant is nothing more than a guy having support with, like having a secretary, like having I mean, uh, uh, um, like even on these apps now, like WhatsApp and all of them, where they now have added an AI component to it, where unlike Google, where you just go search randomly, you very specifically are telling it, say, well, how do I make XYZ? And it comes back within less than 5 seconds and tells you how to do it. That is because the technology is so powerful with these machine learning algorithms that it goes out now and intelligently compiles what you asked for with a solution, not just that you went on Google randomly and you happen to find somebody that said something about something, or some papers and on. So it's just an advancement and a next level of where technology is today, and it is the most powerful technology ever, ever. So don't think of it as just this run wild computer. It's now where you give capability to again, I'm focused on Africa. You give capability to people where they can see things like Nvidia. This is one of the things that I'm also interested. Like this company called Nvidia, that's now, just the other day I read, it's now at 3.4 trillion in the matter of less than 10 years. Okay, why? Because the chips that they make are what empowers the capability of AI systems. So that means if I'm going to go train, let's say, engineers how to, let's say, build a power plant, he can do all of that with augmented reality, virtual reality, augmented reality, and be feel, touch, and have all his training with technology like that, just like that. And that's for every other discipline, whether it's operations as a surgeon, whether it's learning how to play the piano. Well, we see plenty of that, or anything that's actually interactive in 3 dimension. So that's a summary.
For this audience, uh, let people know what kind of partner you're looking for, if you are at all. What kind of um, teaming relationship would you be interested in? I want this audience to be able to benefit from the information you shared by virtue of opportunity and possibilities. Can you share at this
All right.
time?
Well, on the housing side, that's your classical developer. I mean, we're at the end of the day, we're just equipment manufacturers. Okay. And meaning we produce this great product, and it's a matter of them adapting it to, do what they do. If it's building houses, doing mall marts, and that sort of thing. So yes, we're just they just become clients in some instances, because you see we have these first class architects like Joe Adu, Jennifer Mpisi, and a number of them that are on board with us at Centric. We may go into a situation where our architects, come up with designs that develop our clients may be interested in, and and therefore um, we may be able to partner that way. But our primary business is just being manufacturers. All right. Then on the AI side, that which I just spoke about, which is my own personal pet project, the vision there is to have HBCUs, African universities, and US universities link up. But it's not just linking up, because we already have some of these bilateral programs, individual relationships, and all that going on. The real value and what could really skyrocket that kind of intellectual collaboration, and I mentioned with a focus on energy, is adapting a standardized curriculum for training. And I have a recommendation. I have it all spelled out and everything else. A recommendation that comes from a study that the Electric Power Research Institute started in 1993, and it's still an ongoing project where the 200 institutions, which consists of manufacturers, universities, institute from around the world, uh, funded to study and look at the state of the world's electricity systems through the year 2050, and come up, and from that study they outlined all the things that have to be changed, new materials, aging grid, aging transmission, and it is so detailed. And as a subject matter expert, which is what my area of specialization is, the design of power plants and power systems, I'm saying, you know what? If we all got on the same page as these other 200 institutions that have already, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to align with the global R&D focus, because that's really what we're talking about. And when we say electricity, when you just ask the question, electricity for what? It could be a hospital, which has special requirements, banking systems, special requirement, cybersecurity, special and this way, you're all speaking out of the same, what's the word? Um, well, you're reading off the same page. And this is where you will really have what I call dynamic synergy or enrichment, to use the term, because it then becomes very powerful. And with an AI wrap around it, there's no telling where you're going to go. And it is for this reason that there's a PowerPoint that I do have a slide in which I show this black box I call the knowledge engine. I show on one side are people going in on the left and on the other side I have the Black Panther crew demonstrated. I have Elon Musk. I have Lonnie Johnson. I have Jeff Bezos. Because a study of those guys' lives, these are ordinary people that started from nowhere, and which is where Africa finds itself. So all you need now in the day of in the age of AI is the human being, an organic man. And Africa, those are the most organic people on the planet. That's the highlight and show them the possibility of what they can achieve. Because every one of those names that I named, their whole success was based on AI for the most part.
My final question
Yes.
before we get on to our next panel. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any pressing questions or comments for Bob, I see Derek's hand up from USDA, so let me defer. And Derek, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that, it would be very interesting also to include the land-grant universities, because, USDA has a long-standing collaboration with the land-grant university. I think it would be very interesting to include the land-grant university, working with universities in Africa, looking at
Bingo.
energy, looking at productive uses of energy.
Yes.
I think that is something that would be of great interest to USDA, looking at agriculture, irrigation, agricultural value chain,
Yes.
but just focusing on agriculture. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
And I just learned something today. I didn't know there was a distinction between land grants and HBCUs. So there you have it. No problem.
Hey, Derek, you've hit the nail on the head, if you will, the bullseye in the room, because what we do know is that the continent of Africa possesses such an opportunity for our young people in the HBCUs, but we're at a ground floor, really literally untapped level. And this could be an agency to agency collaboration with the land grants. What is it, 19 of them? And if you had would you pick a particular one, two, or three? Would you go by region, or would you pick one in particular to start as a pilot with this? What's your thoughts on that?
So I think, if I understand you correctly, are you referring to like the region, or are you referring to maybe the land grant university?
Yes, the land grant universities. Which will we
Okay.
bring all 19 to the table, or would you pick 5, 1 as a pilot? Because this is real time opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, North Carolina State is the first one that would come to mind, because I know that
And
we've
North
worked
Carolina
with them.
A&T? North Carolina
Yes.
A&T? Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's where we were going to
Yeah.
have our summit, by the way, until Tim
Yeah.
says, Keith, let's do it in Africa. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
we've worked with them regarding agricultural
Okay. Bingo.
technology in Kenya. So that would be the
Okay.
first, but I could definitely circle back maybe in an email to
Yes.
look at the possibility of 2 other land grant universities.
Let's
Thank you.
make that happen in honor of what we've just heard from Dr. Penny Brown as a launching pad. And I'm so loving this. As usual, you go overtime, and we have other august presenters and stakeholders to present.
Thank you.
And
Thank
actually,
you.
there's some good synergy to the next panel coming up. But thank you so much. Stay online.
Wonderful. Thank
Yeah,
you.
And,
absolutely. I'll go ahead and put my email address here online in the chat. So
awesome.
we can definitely
Right.
circle back.
Yeah,
All right.
Thank you.
absolutely will.
Thank you.